Well, hello there and welcome to another edition of Temporary Australians. I'm Jonesy.
I'm Hursty.
What an action-packed show we have today, Greg.
We do. Over in Perth, we had another Temporary Australians ride and bike show. It went great.
Also, I understand that you had a run-in with the police.
I did, mate. I ran into this guy who's got an old Suzuki water bottle and I took it and went for a ride. And he's a good guy and he works for the trail bike unit there and has never booked anyone during his work. Really good guy.
Wow, I'm looking forward to seeing that. Also, this is what else is coming up on the show today.
We check out a motorcycle group in Perth called Band of Brothers. We look into the whole issue of wire road barriers as they spread across the country. Back in America, we ride the Oregon Trail and we ride from Prairie City into the Blue Mountains of Oregon. We're over here in Perth for the second annual Temporary Australians Ride and Bike Show. The Swan River Hog chapter, they're taking us for a ride into the hills and it should be a ball. Josh, a good turnout for this ride by the look of it.
First day for a long time that we've had sun on a Saturday, so we're over the moon. People just keep showing up, which we're not complaining about at all.
It looks like it'll be fun. That ride sounds like it's going to be an excellent one too.
Yeah, our local hog chapter, the Swan River chapter, is running that for us. They've done some wreck rides up there, some nice twisties, nice bit of highway speed as well in there to keep everyone interested, so it should be fun.
We're going to take a nice little ride out up on the Roe Highway, going to Great Eastern Highway up into Mundaring. From there we're taking the Mundaring Weir Road, going over near the Mundaring Dam, and then through Pickering Brook and then into the Rolly Stone Country Club that way.
The motorcycling is popular around Perth still?
Very much so, and whenever there's something for a charity especially, that's when the Perth motorcycle community comes together.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for coming to the second annual Temporary Australians Ride and Bike Show. The first one was in Sydney last year and it went so well we thought we'd try it over here in Perth. They say it's just hot and flat in Western Australia, but riding to the Perth Hills shows us anything but. Of course, falling in behind a wide load can slow things down, but it makes it great for filming a pack. Carol, what's your impressions of the ride today?
It was good except for the big truck, but at least putting along, I suppose you got to have a look at the scenery, and I think I clocked it about 35 kilometres in first gear. So, yeah, I don't think the bike's like that too much. Yeah.
It was pretty good once we got into the Perth Hills though. Those corners were great.
Yes, that was good. I kind of started overtaking a few of the boys because I was falling asleep.
Well, that's important to do. I think some of us guys need to be put in our place, and you've still clearly done that.
Yes, well, I went on the Moondial Joe run the other week, and someone said I rode like Mick Doohan. I said that's the best compliment I've ever had because he was a legend.
Carol, we have interviewed you in the past before about Red Circle riders. What sort of an impact did that have once the interview went to air?
Australia-wide, people saw the show and, I got a lot of feedback and nearly 300 members in the group now.
It's good to see a lot of women riding here today for the show and shine.
Yes, good. Quite often the only girl riding. So I really love it when I see other ladies getting out there because I always say, why should the boys have all the fun?
Now, it looks like quite a good turnout today. A lot of people very interested in the bikes and the show.
Yeah, it is, sure is. When we was talking about it the other day about the show, we was like, not sure what the turnout would be, but no, it's been a really good turnout, loads of different bikes, and you always meet new people and great people.
Tony, it's gone really well today.
It's great. Awesome, Greg. Great turnout. Couldn't ask for a better day.
Yeah, I'm really impressed with the range of bikes too.
There's a lot of different models, some early, old, some customs. The amount of different bikes and the amount of modified bikes that are here is just awesome.
I was interested particularly in that Harley with the 26-inch front wheel. You don't see many of them.
You don't see too many, but I think America has had it for a while and it's slowly phasing over to Australia. And we've got a few guys going into that sort of setup and it's a wild looking machine.
I like the bike that won Best European too. It's pretty impressive.
It is like an old bike, 1926, still registered as a vintage. Starts first kick every time. And it's a classic looking bike and a credit to the owner.
And it's good to see a number of trikes as well.
It is. The trikes are going hard. We've got TC Customs that do a lot of conversions for us at Perth Harley. The new 500cc Harley that we've had trike, we've sold about a dozen of those around the country, and we're getting a lot more inquiries as time goes on. So it's a great thing for Australia.
I understand that you're opening a new store very soon.
We are. Hopefully we'll be in there around about Christmas. It's the biggest Harley dealership in the country. It's got a cafe and everything in there, and I just can't wait.
Well, come and check it out.
Absolutely, that'll be great.
We headed out from Boise today on Interstate 84, and it wasn't long before we found in Oregon some great expansive curves in that road. And it turned out it was following the original Oregon Trail. Tell us about that trail, Alice.
The Oregon Trail is really pretty incredible in our western expansion for the United States. It was the largest single unforced migration in mankind's history, and certainly for us here in the United States, Greg.
Now, how many people actually made the journey?
It began in about 1843. It lasted for almost a little over 10 years, and the entire amount is about 100,000 people that came out to find their promised land out here in the West.
And we are trusting Alice quite a bit with our journey. She's sending us up through Haines and around into the mountains and back down to Sumter. Tell us about the ride.
Well, you have a remarkable day ahead of you, Greg. You're going to see a real diversity from this kind of landscape that you can see behind us here with the kind of rolling hills and sagebrush. We're going to take you up to about 7,100 feet to Anthony Lakes, a beautiful glacier-formed area where you'll be surrounded by peaks and little mountains. We'll bring you down some great curves on the other side into the John Day River area, and then we're going to drop you over into Sumter. There you'll get a real feel of our gold mining history. Finally, we're going to drop you through those Blue Mountains again and over into Prairie City, and a beautiful stop at the Hotel Prairie City, which was built about 1900.
Well, we hit the Oregon Scenic Bypass after a little township called Haines. And I've got to tell you, as soon as you hit the pine trees, the corners just keep on coming. And then we come to the beautiful Anthony Lakes. You can see the snow up on the mountain behind me. It is 40 degrees cooler here than when we were in Las Vegas. That's why if you come for a ride in this part of the world at this time, you've got to bring warm clothes as well as plenty of summer gear. The corners that just keep on coming, is that what all the roads are like here?
Pretty much.
They're either corners or valleys, one or the other. Lots of canyons around here.
You know, you just putt along and enjoy the scenery.
Do you have much difficulty with local wildlife?
I was just going to say, you don't want to putt too fast because you may come across a deer. And yes, we do have a lot of wildlife here, and they are apt to run in front of you.
This ride through Oregon's Blue Mountains is what it claims to be. A scenic byway with plenty of great corners, and aside from the occasional gravel and wildlife, it's a hugely popular ride with local bikers. Do you get many motorcyclists coming to Sumter?
We have a lot of motorcycles. We're right on what they call the scenic byway here through Eastern Oregon, and we have lots and lots of motorcycles.
What are some of the hazards for riders here? I mean, I've heard some of the wildlife can be a bit scary.
Wildlife is the main thing, and people just have to watch the curves, you know, because there's a lot of curves, so you got to be really careful and observe the road.
What sort of wildlife are we talking about?
Mainly just deer and elk are the two you got to watch out for.
No bears?
Nah, usually no.
Usually no.
Usually no.
Usually no. So remember that when you come riding over here in Sumter. If you see a bear, that's unusual.
Yeah, it is unusual.
Now, I understand from some of the articles I've read that wire roads are becoming an increasing issue in Victoria.
They're being rolled out more and more. And relatively recently there was an announcement they're going to be used not only on the outside of roadways but also to be used as a lane divider, so as a divider between down that middle piece, which adds an extra dimension to it.
Yeah, that's a little bit scary if you ride it, because that's not going to give you anywhere to go if the centrepiece has got the wire rope on it.
Yeah, that's right. So that's one concern, and the other concern is the fact that it's mooted to be wire rope itself as opposed to other more rider-friendly mechanisms that could be used.
Some of the barriers we're looking at padding, obviously. We're also using, in some instances, they're looking at plastic barriers, strong plastic barriers, obviously. So that is being addressed.
Do you think there'd be any legal basis for challenging that type of barrier?
It's possible, but it would be complex because there are going to be competing arguments about the pros and cons of using different types of barriers. Now, riders anecdotally know, and they know by looking at them, and they know from some experience that they are a problem. That in terms of proving on a policy basis whether those concerns outweigh the other factors in play when these sorts of choices are being made about what is appropriate infrastructure at a government level, it's a difficult matter to prove negligence in a specific case in that type of matter.
What we're doing is we've provided $5 million worth of funding to actually deal with roads that are very popular for motorbike touring. So this is very much about putting barriers on the corners, also underpass barriers to ensure that people don't slip under the barriers. It's about putting padding on the barriers. It's about improving the surface so that they've got a more predictable ride more than anything else.
Anything that can help eliminate an injury to a rider is a fantastic thing. So post covers and any other covers are a great move forward for motorcycling.
For more information on this topic or any other rider-related issue, go to Morris Blackburn Stop Smidsy Facebook page.
It's a beautiful sunny morning in downtown Prairie City. We've just come from a ride from Baker City all the way through the Blue Mountains down into this beautiful valley. It's been a terrific ride, and some of the locals here are going to take us even further into East Oregon. John and Tacey, you have lived in Prairie City for a long time. Describe what the town is like.
This is the most community-minded community you will ever be in. Like last year when we had our fire, neighbors were knocking on neighbors' doors saying, "Get out, get out." You won't find that in the big city.
So do you enjoy riding in this area?
I do. It's an excellent place to ride. There are dozens of loops that leave John Day and come back to John Day through Prairie City. Most of Eastern Oregon can be accessed out of John Day.
Would you recommend Aussies and Kiwis follow in our footsteps?
Recommend that they come to the Pacific Northwest. I think it's a spectacular riding destination. We really plan to do more extensively Pacific Northwest, but it's been so good here in the east and to some degree the west of Oregon that we just have trouble getting away.
The people here are really nice too. They're very friendly, and that makes all the difference. That's why we're staying in an extra couple of nights, just to be able to do these roads.
These girls had just been on their first motorcycle ride. What was it like?
It was exhilarating. It was absolutely incredible.
It was so fun. I'm just still smiling about it.
What's been the reaction of the local people to the crew coming through?
They're so thrilled that you're here, that you're motorcycle enthusiasts, that you're here in Eastern Oregon, which a lot of people don't get out to this part of the state. And it means so much to them that you're stopping in their town and you guys can share this experience.
I love it. It's one of the best places in the world to ride.
What is it so special about this part of the world?
There's so much diversity in the landscape and the terrain and what you can see. You go from farms to wineries to lakes and streams and those kinds of things around here. So
now we're going on a ride from Prairie City through John Day to Ukiah. Can you describe the road to us?
It's a typical rural road. It's 2 lanes. There's no interstate here. Lots of twists and turns, a lot of farm animals and deer and elk and turkeys and all those kinds of things are out next to the road. So you kind of got to pay attention to what you're doing, and that's kind of part of the joy of riding out here.
The next section we're going to ride is from John Day up to Ukiah. What's that road like?
Your diversity is going to really strike you, because now you're going to be up high on the plateaus above the John Day River drainages. Beautiful farmlands and ranch lands that are there, huge areas where you'll be able to see for well over 150 miles, and dropping down into nice curves down into the river bottoms and then back up again. The little town of Ukiah is really one of those that motorcyclists seem to just find to be of their liking, and I think you'll enjoy the over 100 antlers that are on the outside of the Ukiah Cafe.
Some of those corners are they just kept on going. It was amazing.
They did. In fact, I was counting. I think there were 58 of them. Isn't that what the sign said? 58 corners?
Wow, remarkable. Very popular road, I guess, for riders?
Yes, absolutely. Very popular ride.
The corners just seem to never end.
No, it's just get in the rhythm and go with it.
You recommend it for Aussies to do if they come over here?
Absolutely.
I have really struggled to get the smile off my face. That was just sensational. Yeah, that was just curve after curve, and that's got to be some of the best riding I've ever had the pleasure to experience.
I've heard it said that East Oregon is a bit of a secret from the rest of the US.
Any of the western states are kind of a secret from the East Coast, and then we consider our part of Oregon a secret from the rest of Oregon. So we're trying to make people more aware of it.
We're heading across to Joseph. Are they good riding roads?
Oh, you're going to love it. I'm going to join you. The roads from here to there are great, and then once you leave the next day into Lewiston, Idaho, you will not be able to get the grin off your face. After about 50 corners, you have to stop sometimes if you're rusty like I am, and you got to regroup because you got smoke coming out of your ears.
I gather that's got a special name, that section of road.
Well, it's called rattlesnake.
So that's what we're going to look out for and make sure we don't get bit.
Well, 2 reasons. It's shaped like a rattlesnake, and of course this whole area is rattlesnake country. So there's areas here where if you survive running off the road and you don't die from impact, the rattlesnakes will finish you.
Chris, tell us about Band of Brothers.
Band of Brothers is a Christian motorcycle group that we started about 4 years ago. A group of people they just have a love for the Lord and a love for motorcycling, and bring the two together. It's great. You know, we realise that life's not just about living and dying and just trying to make it through the day. You know, there's more to life than that. We affectionately called Bob Band of Brothers. Of course, the ladies wanted to have their group, came out as Boss, Band of Sisters. So we thought, no, we might just consolidate that. So we got 3 cheers to the ladies on that.
What's been the reaction of the bike community to Christian motorcycling over here in Perth?
General community, I think they've been very open and been very fair. We accept them, we don't judge anybody, and nor do we want to be judged. We don't go in there and be, with that religious spirit. It's not going to work. You just be yourself.
How did you come to faith?
I'd been brought up, sort of had it pushed down my throat as a young person. I rebelled. And it probably wasn't until I was about 30, I'd sort of been sex, drugs and rock and roll. I'm totally rebellious in that area. That I really felt there's got to be more to life. Live here for 70, 80 years. And as I searched more, I went into Buddhism, and I went into all these different religions and things like that, and just felt God himself was calling me to himself. Might sound a bit over the top, but it's as simple as that. Just an ordinary guy that was searching, and I was found. Once lost, now I'm found.
I'm part of a trail bike unit. I've been doing that since 1990 and on and off with particular different duties. I go from counter-terrorism, search and rescue, right through to attending the local mini bike club and just educating young riders on making informed decisions.
So you're not actually part of the fun police, are you? You're actually trying to help people enjoy it and do it safely.
That's correct. Yeah, we're not out there to spoil anyone's day. We do it to try and educate people to ride safely, have fun, enjoy trail bike riding. Like as you know, riding a trail bike is a great thing. I'm fortunate enough to spend my Sundays getting paid to do it on a great bike like a WR 450. It's a great Yamaha Mad motorbike, and we have a great time out there. And we do our training days where we get to ride on motocross circuits and enhance our skills. So I get paid to do that, and it's a great thing. And if I can pass on that safe riding skill set to a younger rider or a person who's interested in trail bike riding, then I feel like I'm contributing to the community in a good way.
Now, Glenn, you don't see a water bottle around these days?
No, you don't see many of them around, Greg, that's correct. Very, very popular bike in their day, ridden by the great Barry Sheen. And he was also their poster boy in all the posters, in particular with this bike, the same coloured candy lavender bike.
Oh, look, I do remember riding one when I was first into the motorcycle scene, and fantastic on straight roads, but a little bit difficult on corners.
Yeah, definitely not for the faint-hearted, mate. I wouldn't recommend a track day on one. They don't corner very well. They do go like a rocket in a straight line, and being a two-stroke, you get the big power band that it kicks in, and you just sort of hang on best you can. This particular model here, the 72J model, only has the twin leading shoe drum, so it's not the most advanced braking component on a motorbike in compared with nowadays.
So why do you ride it?
For the love of the bike, mate. It's unique, it's different. Everywhere I go with this, in particular this bike, the Candy Lavender bike, I get spoken to. You even fill up at petrol and people come over and talk to you, are really interested in about the history of the bike and who owned it. And they always say, just like you, I had one of those as a young bloke and they're a great bike.
How big's the trail bike team?
There's 9 of us there. There's 3 sergeants and about 6 constables of various years of rank, and they get acknowledged for their good hard work in the command by becoming part of that unit through a fairly competitive process, and also it's also a very physical process you have to go through with the recruiting of a trail bike rider in the New South Wales Police.
So are you known affectionately as the Crusty Old Demons?
Yes, well, the three sergeants are known as the old demons, and we are getting a bit crusty. But yeah, I know where you're going there, mate. And it's true. If I've done 4 days on the bike, I know about it nowadays.
I love those old water bottles, aren't they great?
Mate, they're hard to handle, but it's like going back 30 years to when I started riding. I had to go one then, and it was just fantastic memory.
This is a flashback to you.
Yeah, it was, mate.
You would have been in fashion clothing-wise as well back
I was 2 or 3, I think, at that time, mate.
We'll be back again next week with another edition of Temporary Australians. If you want to check us out, do it, temporaryaustralians.com.au. Until then, shiny side up.
See ya.